Hello everyone. In this tutorial I'm going to show how to create a technical line drawing, and I'm using a spark plug as an example. And so your project is to create two technical drawings, two views of a utilitarian object, and that is an object that actually serves a purpose, and Sparkplug definitely has a purpose here. The views I've chosen are the profile side view and the bottom view because these are really these are the functioning parts of the spark plug that are very important. Okay, so anyway, I have taken pictures, as you can see. Some of you sent me pictures of your object and you're setting them on the floor, on the carpet, or you have them in your hand. When you actually take a picture to use and to view and to study, you need to actually take your object and put it on a surface that's clean. In this case, I use my sketchbook, and also you need good lighting. And so I've lit it a couple of different ways because we need to be able to see what this object looks like, okay? And, I opened the door in my studio and took this picture. I took this picture with my flash bulb, okay? I took this picture with the door open, so I had sunlight coming in. Then I took this picture under a light bulb because I have a lamp on my drawing table. So you need to think about the best way to take your pictures of your objects so you can see them, okay? Also, as you can see here, I actually have technical line drawings that I've downloaded of a spark plug, and there's a few pictures here. And this is to help me see what I need to draw. And you should have I would encourage you, if you whatever your object you're drawing, you go and try to find some kind of either a diagram or a mechanical drawing or something that is more of a line drawing of your object, okay? And you can Google those things, okay? So anyway, let me get in here. I have this set up so that this image here, if we take a look at our layers, I've got a ton of layers open right now, and I'm assuming that you know how to use Illustrator already, since I've had most of you for different classes. So I have this set up as a template, and I copied that same image and have it posted here so I can actually see it. And then I've got my other images all around outside the page. So when I'm going to do my drawing here, I'm going to create a new layer, and we can lock all these other layers so we don't accidentally draw on those, okay? But anyway, the thing is that even one of the things about this project is to teach you how to see things for what it really is, okay? Photographs distort, okay? And so I'm trying to get a profile view of my object, and there's curvatures here that when I'm doing a profile view would not be a proper profile, okay? And that's why I did get my technical line drawings that I downloaded, and you can take a look that if you're actually looking at the side of a spark plug, it's it's straight, okay? So I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to start off with a rectangle to start off with, and I'm going to draw this area right here. And right now, let's see, I'll bring it down so far here. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to turn off the stroke on this thing. I mean, the fill. I'm going to put a stroke on it of about 1 point. Okay, oops, I put the fill on there. Okay, there we go. And then put that up to 1 point there. Okay, now that seems pretty well centered there. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to bring over a guide. Now I already have my rulers set up, and in case you don't know this, Command R will bring up your rulers and take them away. And I'm going over to my side ruler, and this is going to help me center my object. Okay. Now, mind you, this is just a photograph. I had to rotate it and everything, but it's not perfect. So that's why I'm perfecting this and making things better. Okay. So I've actually drawn this already, and when I started drawing this, I was trying to figure out how to draw these grooves for where it screws in. And I realize, you know, if I'm looking at these other pictures here, we'll zoom back out here for just a second, and you take a look at it, you know, this is not accurate. This diagram is not accurate because it is not screwed in. There's, you know, this thing is not screwing in. So let me show you another picture here we can take a look at. This is far more accurate, okay? Because that is what a screw would look like, okay? So let's zoom back out. And so what I'm going to do here is I figure I'll just use straight lines as you saw there. And I'll just get my line tool and make sure it has a stroke on it so we can see it. And we'll make that 0.75 so it's not as thick. And I'm going to be trying to make this go in a direction so that it makes sense here. So we're going to use this one right here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually copy this. And I'm just going to start moving it. And so how I'm copying it is I'm moving it, and then I'm going to hold down my Alt key and my Shift key. And I'm going to try to line it up there, okay? Now, we want to get the angle the same. Now, this angle changes throughout because of the perspective of the photograph. So I want to try to get both of these lines at the right angle. And so I'm just kind of going to select those two endpoints for a second and try to look at see what would be a good angle for that. Okay, that looks a lot better. Okay, and I might even bring this down more here. Okay, so like that. Now let's see here. We're going to use our blend tool in just a second here to help me out. So, but before we do that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come over here and use my ellipse tool to help me draw one of these things. This is the side here. Now, if you remember what I just showed you, the screw they showed on the spark plug, that screw area, was pointed. Well, mine, you can see, is not pointed. It's rounded, okay? And that's why I'm going to use an ellipse here. And I thought this would be the best way to do this, okay? And we'll put that there, and we'll get it to the right size. Okay, something like that, and we want that kind of lined up with it there. And we've got another one here. It's a partial one. Now, mind you, the reason why this is partial down here, we could just kind of do it like this. I'm going to move it down here and hold down my Alt or my Option and my Shift key, okay? Because this is in perspective, and this is starting to disappear, okay? So if I had actually rotated this around a little bit more, we would probably see more of a half circle there. And so we're just going to pull that up here. Whoops. Whoops, keeps moving that. Okay, so let's move it up. I might have to zoom in one more time here so I can actually move things properly. There we go. Okay, now I've got to get this. And we can reposition this because this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, okay? And I've got 5 of these. So what I might do is I might nudge these up a little bit once I get them into place. Okay? And so what we want to do is I'm going to combine those eventually to make this. And some people see, I want to point out here, I am not going with my pen tool and clicking and drawing, tracing this out. That is something you don't want to do with this type of drawing, okay? You want this drawing to be precise. And so that's why I'm using ellipses. That's why I'm using rectangles. I'm going to just copy these and drag these on over here, okay? And they're not going to be lined up directly in the same location. It'll be like more like that. Okay. All right, I think that may work. Okay. Now, with that being said, now we can try to get a sense of where these need to be. Okay, and that is, whoops. If something is giving us problems, we can always lock it because I was having to lock a lot of things yesterday. But what I'm going to do is I am going to move this. So this is at an angle, okay? And now we're going to just, I could keep copying these, but I'm going to actually see about, and we'll just copy them. because I was going to do a blend, but you know what? Why do a blend when we could just manually do it? We'll do some blending later, okay? So I'm just going to drag that up. I'm holding down the Alt key, so I will copy it. Hold down the Shift key, so it's perfectly straight up and down. And something's happening there. Let's zoom in and see. Okay. Yeah, sometimes Illustrator, it actually has to draw the graphics, so sometimes things go wrong like that. And if that's the case, then zoom in and out, and that will fix it. Oops. Okay, let's pull this one up. And it's not showing again for some reason. There we go. Now I did. Okay, now I got all that. And this starts to begin to look like the screw area. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to combine these things. And I could probably put in one more little line there. But I think I'm just going to leave it as. And I'm going to actually shorten this just a little bit to compensate. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to combine these shapes. So I'm going to select all my circles. I'm not going to group them. I'm going to combine them with the rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to take my rectangle shape, and then I've got my Pathfinders tools here. Okay, and if you don't know where those are, if you haven't used them, they're up under Window, and you go and look for Pathfinders. The first button here is called Unite. So if I unite that, I get this. Okay, and so now I just got to go in here and make sure these lines are set up right. I want this to be 7, I mean not 7, 1 point, the outer point, okay? I want these lines, because these are just indicating, like you've got contour lines. Actually, we'll try to drag these all together so it's going to do it correctly. Or we could just manually move that. Yeah, there we go. Oops. Okay, now I'm trying to toggle here with my arrow keys. You can see it toggles too much. One of the things you can always do in Illustrator is if you go in your preferences and do general, right up here, keyboard increments, it's set at 0.015. I'm just going to add an extra 0 in there. Okay, and so now I can see that. That's much easier. Okay, and we're going to get these 2 points here. Try to line these up a little bit better. Okay, to describe this form. There we go. Okay, good. Now, if we turn off our drawing, I mean our picture, this is what we have. And, I'm going to move this one up a little bit. If I can get to the point here. All right. And move this one, because we want this to look perfect. And perfection is something that is needed within this type of drawing. Okay. And I don't know if I've said it so far, but one of the things is that some of you may not have this type of drawing experience. You're probably wondering, well, why do we have to draw like this? Well, it helps you see things for what they really are, and how to actually create a diagram of a three-dimensional object. Because our second project, we're going to be trying to make a two-dimensional drawing into a three-dimensional drawing. So anyway, I'm going to actually trace this out, but I'm not going to trace it out exactly. First thing I could actually do is I'm going to get my rectangle tool, and I'm going to aim for the center here, and this is the little thing that pops up here, okay, and I'm just going to make sure that that goes here like this, okay, so that I'm going to make it 1 point also, okay. Anything that's a contour, an outside contour, is going to be at 1 point. And so anyway, let me see here. Let me zoom in here. So we got, okay. Now, I'm going to look at some diagrams to see how I should draw that. And you see how that's drawn in these diagrams, okay? So let's draw it the same way instead of tracing it. Don't trace it. Draw it the way someone else's diagram looks like, so you understand how this thing really works. Now this has been bent, but we're going to go straight across. Oops. Now I've got my smart guides on, so I can see things. It will help me. Okay, and we can kill that second handle there. We'll go straight across here. I'm going to go up here. Now we're drawing the profile of it, and the photograph shows it in perspective, so we're seeing a 3/4 view of this. And what we're trying to do is trying to prevent that and draw it straight as a profile. Okay, and so we will get something like that. Okay, now let's continue on. And we're going to do, let's see here. I'm going to try to get this next part here, okay? And we could use rectangles to start with. And I really had to look at my object, okay? That's the thing is, you really need to look at your object for what it is to understand what you're drawing. And that's why it's good to have an object on hand to see what it really looks like. I'm going to pull that up, pull this here, because this is curving here. And this has, if we really zoom in there and take a look at it, I'm going to turn my drawing off for just a second here. All right. So this thing would go straight, and then it goes up at an angle, and then comes back down. So it's kind of almost, if we were to flip that upside down and see that thing by itself without anything else, it would kind of have a flying saucer look to it. And that's the thing is, you need to think about your objects. What are they really shaped like? So I'm going to get my pen tool here, and I'm going to click here along this path. Oops, I need to select the path. Sorry about that. So I'm going to select the path, then use my pen tool. And my pen tool, I did not disable the auto add and delete so that I could actually go over here and use this. So I'm going to click. I'm looking at this. And it looks like this area here is wider than this other area here. Okay, again, I'll turn it off so we can take a look and compare. I'm talking about from here to here to here, okay? Because this is all one object, and then this is separate. So this is like a washer here, okay? So as you can see, this area is a little shorter. So let me go in here again, turn this on, select this, and do my pen tool here, and bring this in a little closer. Now, I've got my smart guides on, so it's going to show me where this point is on the other side. And now what I can do is I'm going to use my arrows and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Now, mind you, so that's 35. I could probably live with that. 36, 37, 38. Okay. I should have actually increased the increments. So I'm just counting. And also visualizing. Okay, so there we go. And that, I think, should do that, okay? No, I think I missed it by 2. 1, 2. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's zoom out here. Take a look here. All right, good. Now, a lot of counting there. Sorry about that. So we'll do the same thing here, but we can also just go back to our preferences if we need to. We'll take that away and then click OK. And so therefore we won't be counting so much. So now 1, oh, that's it. That's all I needed it. I should have had it set up like that instead of counting out to almost 40 here, okay? So that made that easy. All right. Now, this has a contour kind of edge. And if we wanted to show that, we would use a thinner line. So I'm just going to draw a straight line here with my line tool straight across here. And we're going to bring this down to, since it's small, maybe we'll try it at 0.5 or those other lines were 0.75. We'll do it 0.75 to keep consistency going, okay? And then what I'm going to do is we're going to get this part right here. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to draw a rectangle starting from this point on up and going straight across. There we go. I want to make sure that midpoint is right at that guide there. Okay? So now we've gotten that object drawn. It's okay? Because if we were able to photograph this thing without any kind of distortion, and see the photograph distorted it, then we would not be seeing these curves. So right now, And mind you, the other thing too is because this is distorted, you know, and this is not perfectly centered, the photograph, I'm having to create my drawing perfectly centered. Okay, now I'm going to get to something fun, or at least I could consider it fun. All right, because you know some of this other stuff was not the most fun stuff to do. Okay, now this line is a little too much, so I'm going to bring this down just one more here, maybe. Or if it's too much, Command Z, change my increments again. Yeah, I could do, yeah, we'll do, and we'll just, there we go. That's better. Okay, now, because that was overlapping there, it was making it look wider. Okay, okay, there we go. I like that. Okay, now, you see this part right here? I'm actually going to show you a cool way to draw something like that. Now, mind you, it is curved, but if we were looking at this without the curvature, it'd be straight across, but we would still have all these kind of X's. I'm going to make a line, and I'm going to hold down my shift key so it's at 45-degree angle. Okay, there we go. We'll make this line 0.75. We'll bring it down here, 0.75. Okay, we're going to copy this line, bring it over here like this. Whoops, I meant to copy. So as I'm dragging, hold down my Alt and my Option and my Shift key because I want it straight across. Okay. Now I'm going to do a blend. I wanted to show you how to do blends because blends can save time. So I've got my blend tool here, and I'm going to click on this line and this line. See, I got a plus sign there. All right, now I drew a bunch of just lines there. If you can see, well, we're going to double click this tool. All right, specified steps, it's got 140. Well, let's do, I don't know, let's do 22 and see what that would look like. We'll preview it. It's pretty close. Maybe we'll do 24, or this does not have to be as exact because this is kind of a textured thing here. All right, so that looks good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up a little bit. I'm actually going to probably move this to another layer to help me out. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to pull this up. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Command C and paste in front Command F. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to make it crosshatched. And this doesn't have to be perfectly along that line. It does not, because this is just a texture. And see that right there, I'll copy that. Actually, I'll just say okay. You know what? I didn't even, if I would have just done the first one, I could have just copied. I'll just say okay now. All right? Because I didn't have to copy and paste in front, really. All right, now, what I'm going to do is, that's a quick way to do cross-hatching in Illustrator. I am going to draw a rectangle out that's about the width of this thing here. And what I'm going to do is this rectangle is sitting on top of these two blends. And we're going to select both of these blends here. And I'm going to do Command 7 or Control 7. And what this is this will mask it. Okay? So let's turn that off and you see what I got there. And by the way, if you want to know what that was, and we'll click on this object here so you can see. Okay, let me try to get to it. There we go. All right. It's a clipping mask. Okay, and so I made a clipping mask, and Command 7 is a keyboard shortcut. You see what the release is. Okay, so clipping masks like this are very helpful when you're doing something like a blend like that. Now let's go back here, turn this on, and I've got, now we don't want to draw out the numbers. Okay, numbers are not important in this because you know what we want to do is try to get the essential shapes that are involved in our object, unless this has a certain measurement. And mind you, this is distorted, so I'm not going to worry about my numbers. But what I'm going to do is I am going to make these little kind of, they're rounded rectangles. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. Okay, it's at 75. And by the way, one of the things I'm trying to do too is this. Up under my scale tool, I'm going to double click it. I have this turned off, scale, strokes, and effects. That's in case when I'm enlarging something, it's not scaling the stroke. That's useful when we're designing a logo or designing a drawing and we're enlarging it and we want the strokes to remain the same. But in this case, because I want certain strokes to be 0.75 and certain strokes to be 1 point, then I don't want to do that. Now I'm going to curve this very simply by using the direct selection tool. And you see these little marks here. I'm just going to pull, and I can make a rounded rectangle, somewhat similar to what that shape is, okay? We might even bring that in. I'm going to hold down my Alt key and bring that in a little bit. All right, now, what I'm going to do is we'll rotate it. Bring one over here. We'll just take this one over here. Move it. And then I'm going to copy it. So I'm bringing it over here, and then hold down my Alt and my Shift key. And now let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's 8 of those. All right, so let's get my blend tool out. And what's really important is you've got to click on the same point. Now, last time I did this, it distorted it. Okay, it's not distorting it, but it's got a smooth blend. So let's go in here and let's change our specified steps. Usually, sometimes your blend tool might be set to smooth color. Anyway, let's put, I think it was 8, if I'm remembering right. That's my problem. I start talking and I forget. So let's take a look here. Oh, that distorted that. So let's click cancel. All right. So even though I use those same points, I'm going to undo it. Command Z. There we go. Well, let's set this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm going to set this up for 8 ahead of time because it's distorting it. And I don't want it distorted. We want to try to get at the same part there, and I don't know why it's doing that. So there we go. You know, that is so weird because I hit the top points and it distorted it. I hit the side points, and mind you, I'm trying to hit the same point on each shape. But see how that does that? So that's why I set that up to 8 ahead of time. Now we can just leave that there as a blend, or if you want to make those into objects, we can expand it. Okay, and click OK, and so that will actually turn those into individual objects there. Okay, all right. Now this was hard. This part was not easy because it's an unusual shape, and especially trying to draw it at a profile view. So what I'm going to do is let me think here. I'm thinking of drawing half of it and reflecting it. And when we're drawing this, we're trying to perfect it if possible, so that we can kind of see. I think this has got kind of a curvature to it like this. And then this comes down, and there's a slight curvature here. Okay, oops, we don't want that sticking out there. All right, we'll bring this all the way over here. And we're using this guide here to really help us out here. Okay, now, before I do anything else, let's make sure this is all clean here. We'll zoom in. This magenta color is killing my eyes. So I'm going to double click my layer option here. And let's change this to maybe this dark. Yeah, okay, that helps a little bit better for me to see, because that magenta was really hurting my eyes. Now I just want to perfect this so that when we use it, because I'm going to use it in a couple of ways here. One is I'm going to reflect it, join it. Okay, so let's take this. What we're going to do is we're going to select that, and we got to select the whole thing. Got to use this. If we're going to reflect this, we got to select it with the main selection tool here, that black arrow. Now let's go over here to our reflect. And by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but if you don't know where it's located, it's up under the rotation tool. Okay, I just been using it, so it's forward here. Now we want to click on this point, and the other thing too is, let's zoom here, and I'm hoping you can see what I'm seeing here. So let me go back to my reflection tool. Is it R? That's 0. Okay. So we want to get on this one of these points here. Now I'll hit the top one here. But notice this. Can you see that? I'll put it over here. So see that little line pops out? So that indicates when I click, that's going to activate the tool. So we want to be about right here. And then we want to just copy. Now we can leave it like that, but I want to join these two things so they're one shape. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm crossing my fingers this will work here, is I'm going to just drag over with my direct selection tool so I can get both of those endpoints. And let's do Command J here. Oh, did not like this. Yeah. Let's see about doing these two. Sometimes this, yep, supposed to be two endpoints. Well, you know what? If it's not going to like me, I'm just curious here. I'm not going to spend too long on this because if I have to, I'll just group it. I would just prefer this to be one continuous tool. I mean, one continuous shape, and usually joining this will work, but there's something going wrong here. So here's where, let's see, I was using Command J, offset path. I'm wondering here. Let me try something I haven't tried. Let's try combine. You know what? It did it. Oh, you know what was giving me the problem? I just noticed that. As I was joining that, but I like combine better. As I was joining that, I noticed that this guide was not locked. Okay, so let's undo here. Well, actually, we'll reflect again. Okay, redo reflect. Let's go to View Guides and let's lock our guide. Okay, because that's why it was giving me that problem with Command J. So I'm just going to select over both of those and then do Unite. And now it's created into one shape, which is awesome. Okay, and so mind you, it does not fit the photograph, but remember the photograph is a little off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if we want to, I could distort this thing and just pull it out more. Not going to hurt. Okay. I think that describes that shape a little bit better. Now what we're going to do is let's copy this shape and drag it over here and hold down the Shift key. And we're just simply going to distort this shape. I'm going to hold down my Alt key or my Option key, and we're going to make this, and now I'm not holding down any key, but I'm going to make that shape right there, okay? And there we go. Then we're just going to copy that, duplicate that. I'm going to hold down the Alt Shift and bring that over here. Okay. And what I'm looking at is the spacing in between. I might want to just distort this a little bit more. Well, let's turn off our drawing, our photograph here. And I want the spacing in between those to be the same. All right, that's good. That is good. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to actually go back. I'm going to do a couple things here. Okay. One is, I'm up on this top layer. So these are all the kind of details here. Okay. Well, let's copy these two shapes. Lock this top layer. I'm going to go back down to this layer underneath here. Do paste in front. Whoops. Didn't copy it. Didn't happen. Take these. Command C. Lock this layer, come down here, do paste in front. The reason I'm doing paste in front is so that it won't move, because if I do Command V, it's just going to paste it like that, okay? So that's why we're doing paste in front. All right, now what I'm going to do is I need to make a contour of this shape, and so I'm going to use a rectangle to start with, and I started right at that center there. And I want to bring this down here like this. And then I am going to, you know what? We're going to do this. I'm going to add a point here to this rectangle. And same place. See that I've got that magenta guide there that's helping me see that? All right, so that'll be the same place. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to actually count here again. But first, before we do that, let's move this up just a little bit here. There we go. Okay, now let's do the counting. One. Oh, I'm gonna change this. I don't want to have to count a bunch of times. That was not the best video tutorial performance when I was counting out so much. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's good. And then on this side, the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, good. All right, now we're getting close to getting finished. This has a curvature to this part right here. I'm thinking here maybe, but then this is straight right here. You gotta understand, this is straight, but this is actually curves, because that's what this would be. So I'm thinking for a second what I could do here. I'm gonna try a rectangle for a second. So I love these smart guides. It lets me see exactly where everything is at. Okay, now what I'm thinking of doing is we'll count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can't see because of where that's at. 11. I think that might be close enough. 11. So count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, mind you, and I might have counted wrong here, so let me go undo. Sorry about this. Do it again. We'll start on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Now, mind you, the photograph is distorted, but that's 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I hope. All right, now we could curve this by adding a point. What, a point here? Oops. When we add a point to a stroke, we go out and make sure that stroke is selected there. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is let's just pull this. Well, we'll count. 1, 2, 3. I'm hoping this will work. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. I went too far. Okay, now let's go and get this tool. This is keyboard shortcut is Shift C for the anchor point tool, and let's just drag this out and get a curvature there, and drag this out here. Make sure that this is not distorting. Oh yeah, it was. See, it's weird. Make sure that you're not tangled. See, it was tangled, so I untangled it. Okay, we're trying to get a curvature that looks right. I'll undo this again and try it again. And some things, as long as you're using a lot of the same tools, a lot of this, after a while, you'll begin to realize that, you got to have kind of an eye for this thing. And let's turn this off. And what I mean by an eye for this thing is, you've got to be able to look at things and say, does that look right? Okay, now let's go back here. You see this part here I need to fix. I could fix this. I was going to combine these, but I was thinking, you know what? Well, first of all, I want these to be 0.75, and I want this to be 1. So let's bring this up to 1. Everything that's going to be on the outer contour for the moment is going to be 0.1 or 1 point, okay? All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to relock this, and we'll turn this off so you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm going to take these shapes, so I'll make these shapes 0.1 too, okay? So that it doesn't change that, okay? Now let's select this shape and do unite. And that will make one shape, unified shape. That is the contour. And then I've got these. Remember, I made copies to make that. Now, this is how I can have a smaller stroke for the inside of that shape and a thicker stroke for the outside of that shape, okay? And we're still going to make a contour for this. So we're getting close to being finished here. We've got a couple more shapes to make. And let me turn this on here. So I'm just going to try to aim for the center. I think I'm going to have to do some distorting here. Yeah, that made it too big. And we'll bring this down. I use a lot of rectangles, because that would be straight across there. That would be straight across there, but then it's got that curvature there, okay? So I'm wondering, if it's got that curvature there, let me just click off here for a second and click this. And I'm going to hold down my shift key and click this. Wow. This is the first time I did this. I didn't do it this way the last time when I was creating this. Okay, so what I did was, to make that curved at the same time was, because otherwise if you don't do this, if I just have it like this, it's going to do it to that. If you have the whole thing selected, and then you go and do this, it'll do it to all of them like that, okay? So what I did was, I got the direct selection tool. I held down I selected one anchor point there. I'm going to select this anchor point here, and then I'm going to just pull that in and just like that. That is so cool how that makes that. Okay, now we're going to remember that, because this last part here, we're going to make I think we can make mostly one rectangle shape here. We'll try to aim for the center here. Although this, I think, was a separate shape here. If we want to, we could just make this a separate shape. Whoops. Make sure that thing is centered. Okay. I think it is. It's close enough. Sometimes. So I'm thinking of making that as one shape. I'm going to look at my spark plug for a second. And that's what you're going to have to do, is you're going to have to look at your object. And this thing is so small, but believe it or not, I'm looking at this. There's a curvature there, but that curvature is not the shape of it, okay? That curvature is actually the distortion. It's actually straight across there, okay? So that's the distortion from the photograph. Right? And that's what I'm saying is, when you look at your thing, you need to actually study the object so you can see what it is. All right, now, and we'll bring this out here. See this part here. See, I ran into this the last time I was building this, and that is, notice that doesn't line up that, and that is because of the photograph is off. You know, I did not center this. I did not have a stand. I wasn't trying to get the photograph perfect. So let me go and get this. And we're just going to have to eyeball it. That's sometimes what we old professionals used to call, trying to, not exactly line things up, but try to see them like that. Now, so we're just kind of visually seeing what looks good. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to, so this curves, and that definitely curves, that shape right there. And so I am going to put a point here, put a point here. Then I'm going to this side, because I can see this side a little bit better here. I'm going to put a point there, and use this the smart guide to help me see where to put this guide at. Okay, put that line. Okay, this. Now I'm looking at the shape of this up close, squinting the best I can see here, and that looks curved, but really it's straight. And that's what I'm saying is, the photograph will distort things. You've got to look. So that's actually straight across there. And then this is actually straight across here. So if I'm building this, we can do our counting 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. We'll see. We'll do 5 on this side. If not, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So we get that shape. 1, 2. This will have to be symmetrical. 1, 2. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Got to get the point. 1, 2, there we go. Okay, now this will come in at 1, but we're going to curve. That comes at 1, okay. And I'm thinking, can we curve it? We'll see what we do here. I'm trying to think about it. Well, let me do that. No, won't let me do that. So, actually, you know what? I want to bring this in closer here too. I'm seeing this wrong. So another one. So another one on here. Okay. Now we want to curve this. Now what we could do is I'm actually going to put another point here. Okay. So 1, 2. Oops. I'm just going to have to do it manually because obviously my increments are off. There we go. That lined it up. That'll let me know that I'm straight across. Okay, that's good. And so I want to curve this just a little bit. There's some way. All right, so let me take this and we'll just curve this side a little bit. And we're just going to engage and curve this side a little bit. And so I just manually curved that, and that's about the only thing that needs to be done there. Now, if we need to, this has kind of a definite, like if you notice the side there, so that is a definite contour change. These are smoother contour changes. But if we want to, what I'm going to do is just draw a line here to show the separation here and make that at 0.75. And if we want to do the rest here, we could do that too if we want to show those. So we can see. I didn't do this the last time. I did one of them. But I don't think that hurts it. Because what that does is that shows us the contour going around there, right? So there, I made it all, okay? That took me less time than what I thought I was going to do for this video. I apologize for talking so much. It's, making this thing go on longer, but, it's good to be thorough. So what I'm going to do is I didn't have to lock anything. I was locking stuff last time. Sometimes it's good to lock things if you're trying to draw things and move things around. If you do, make sure you unlock them, okay? But what I'm going to simply do is we're going to duplicate this one layer here. I'm going to copy of it. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to take this. So the whole contour, see all the details are on this layer, okay? So the contour is all down here. I want to make sure that's all selected. And I'm going to do what's called Unite again. And what that's going to do is I'm going to turn off these top layers here. All right. So now let's take a look here and see what we got here. Not bad. Okay. I was expecting that to be better united. Because last time it was, as long as we don't have anything sticking out here. Now, if we want to, let me see about using this shape builder tool and try to get those. All right. I take it they're just not lined up enough. We can also, if we want to, I'm going to get another rectangle here and go over this area just a little bit. And take another rectangle here. I want to show you how to make this into one complete shape. Or at least close to it, okay? Because these were off by a little bit. So let's unite that. There we go. Now it's all one shape here. And we want to zoom in here and get rid of this extra point here. Actually, this extra 2 points. So I'm just going to move them. That's the easiest thing. I don't mind this part right here because that shouldn't stick out too much, I hope. But why I have this, why I did this, is so that this contour here, we're going to raise it up to 1 point. Well, that's 2 points. We could do 2 points. It's a little too thick. So let's do. I'm going to do 1 point. Let's do 1.5 and see what that looks like. Okay. Just so we have a nice thicker contour sticking out there. Okay. So that's 1.5. I'm going to try 1.25. 1.25. Okay, very good. Now, as far as making the bottom part here, it's pretty simple. Although my camera was distorting something, and that is when I got in close, the things that were sticking out weren't showing up. And that's because the camera distorted that. And that's why it's so important here to see. So if we're going to make this identical, then what we want to do is we want to use guides. So I'm going to set up some guides here. Okay. And we can be on any layer here. I might just stay on this same layer that I did for the big contour to make this, okay? So we want that there. We're going to use a lot of circles, by the way. But we need to know how wide these circles are. And we need to draw and show the main components. And we need to look at the spark plug. So there's a lot of things we're doing here. I'm going to drag over enough of these guides so we can see how to make this side properly. And we're going to have a lot of circles showing what this looks like. Okay. We might even have, yeah, circles within circles. Okay, now, let me get my ellipse tool. And we'll go down here. Make sure we're on the center point. Hold down the Shift key and the Alt key. We'll draw a first circle here. Okay. Now that circle we want, that's going to be the outer contour. So it's going to be that. Now, we can keep just drawing circles. That's one thing we could do. Or we could do copy, paste in front. They both work. This circle, we want to make it 1 point. We're going to do some different size points here, okay, to illustrate this shape. This goes in, try to keep this at 1 point also. It looks like that's just a little off for some reason. It could be where I was at. Let me zoom in here. It could be the guide too. I might have gotten that. But one thing I could do is I could always do copy, paste in front, and make sure that this is going to be at least. See, my guide can always be. Yeah, my guide is off there. It looks like. Or I've got, yeah. Yeah, see, I mismeasured that. Okay. But because this guide was correct and I'm just doing the copy, paste in front, then that doesn't bother that, okay? So we'll do copy, paste in front again. We'll do this one, okay? And then we're going to do copy, paste in front again. And we're doing this interior here, okay? And that one I'm going to set at 0.75. Smaller here. Now, there is another circle, but we can't see it in the photograph too easy. Oh, there it is. All right, you see that? That sticks out. Now, we can't see that because it's actually inside there, okay? That big circle, what we're seeing is this little thing that's sticking out, and then there's that other circle there. But the other circle that I'm pointing to right here is invisible in a profile view, okay? Because it's actually indented in there, okay? So let's copy that, paste in front, and we're just gonna, because we don't have anything to compare it to, we can kind of guess. Because I don't have anything to really, I don't have any lines up there showing me how big this thing would be. And this will be a 1 point or two, okay? And some of these we might change, okay? Some of these we may change in a moment. But the last thing we just need is we need a rectangle. And that rectangle will draw, first, in order to make sure that it is drawn from that center, I'm going to draw it like that. And then I'm just going to distort it. We'll have to zoom in here to distort it. Okay. And we want that to line up there like this. And then this be right here like this. Okay. And that will be 1 point also. Now, we do, in this case, I don't want to have to cut that. I haven't had to do this so far, but this is always handy. And that is, if you're ever trying to hide something, you can always put a fill on something. Okay, so therefore that is how we draw that. Okay, so let me go on to my finished here, and this is the final one. And you see all my guides. You see how I've drawn it all. Oh, I missed something. I missed that part. I got so happy. I thought, oh yeah, I'm drawing this correctly. That is not a circle. That, and I should have noticed it, and I was pointing about it. That is a polygon. And so I'm going to draw this polygon. Zoom in here. There we go. This is what that polygon's shaped like, okay? And what I'm going to do is we're just going to take this and round all these together slightly. And that's how we get that shape. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, this I actually have my guide so you can see. And I would like to see your guides. I'm not going to delete my guides. I'm going to keep them. But to hide them, we do command and semicolon. Okay, right here. And that'll hide them. But I put in measurements, and I said that you have the build. You can, and you see, I didn't put in all these other guides. Actually, the one I just drew is better than this one because I have more detail. How about that? So anyway, I have measurements, and what I would suggest doing is, if you're making your measurements, you should look and see about how people put in measurements. Okay, and so when I was doing this, I downloaded a couple of drawings that had measurements. Now you don't have to, because if you read the assignment sheet, I said you can include measurements if you want to. And so that's an extra thing to do, okay, if you want to do this. But if you're going to do it, you want to do it properly. And so you see I'm using just lines. And also, in case you didn't know this, I'll just draw a quick line here. On our stroke palette, by the way, let me put a stroke on this. We have, if we are showing all of our options, I'm going to hide my options, but if we're showing all of our options here, you can see that we can pick our own arrowheads. Okay, so whenever you're picking the arrowheads, you want to pick the same arrowhead for both sides. Okay, and what I did was, I was looking at this, and then I thought, they do change. See how this one is right here? So what I did for this was I put a line here. We'll zoom in, and I can point to things that I did that were very simple. And I just built a rectangle with no stroke, and it has a white fill to make that line look like it's erased there. And then I didn't type in the rectangle. I typed, and then I moved that into position there. I measured this, and this was supposed to be 2 and I think it was. Well, I measured it, and mind you, my ruler did not have the decimals. So it was, I think it was 2 and 7. No, it was 7/16. That's what it was. So I actually had to look it up. And I went to a website, and actually, let me pull up my Google here. So, or actually, my Firefox here. And there's an email there. But here we go. Inches and fractions and conversion. So fraction decimals. So I found this. So anytime you're looking for something nowadays, there's no reason. Inches to decimal conversion is what I typed in, and that's how I found that. Okay, and so that was very useful because therefore I knew what the decimals was to put in, because that's always something we're running into in Illustrator, because they don't do fractions. It's all in decimals. So if you're measuring things out, you want to put them in decimals, and that's how we do that. And this was, well, we'll take a look. 7/8. I think that's what 7/8. But anyway, and this was 1/2 inch. So I just pointed out some key things there. But that's what we want to do here with this, okay? And you want to make a nice, clean, technical drawing. And you could put in the name of the object if you want to. You could put your name on it. But you should submit it as one Illustrator file. So that will end our tutorial.